Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a flavorful episode of The Gold Standard with Alan Mosley. And here's your host, Alan Mosley.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of The Gold Standard. I am your host, Alan Mosley, and you can follow us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/TGS Alan Mosley. Twitter is at Alan M. Mosley. I'm actually kind of surprised, by the way, that our Twitter hasn't been banned yet because I said a couple of bad words.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Now, I don't mean bad words like swear words. I mean bad words like unapproved words that get you banned. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Eh.
But so as long as it's there, it's Twitter at
True.
Alan and Mosley. But you don't have to do any of that. You just go to our website, which is thegoldstandardpodcast.com.
That's right.
Also, consider supporting the show by becoming a member of our Patreon, which is patreon.com/TGS Alan Mosley. And as always, we're going to start the show by showcasing a few of our friends. We're going to start with Nick and Matt over at the Status Quo podcast. You can find them at thestatusquo.net. They just released episode 42, which is 9/11, Gateway Drug to War, where they're going to talk about the chicken hawks, John Bolton and Ben Shapiro. We actually talked about John Bolton last week, and he got his pink slip from President Trump. Tearing down some of Ben Shapiro's strongmen, shaming Walmart for giving in to liberal shamers.
You bet.
And talking about leaders in America in 2019, or at least what people think are leaders. So that's actually lots of fun stuff that we love on this program. So I think you're going to love it from Nick and Matt as well. So that's thestatusquo.net. Also wanted to showcase the most recent fundraiser from Liberty Memes. Liberty Memes, now listen to this, guys. Liberty Memes is actually helping to sponsor a college scholarship for a student who's getting into the tech industry.
Cool.
So it's over here at GoFundMe. Liberty Memes Freedom in Tech Alliance Scholarship. So Liberty Memes and the Freedom in Tech Alliance are partnering up to bring you the FIDA Liberty Memes Scholarship. Freedom in Tech Alliance was founded in 2018 to promote liberty through technology and policy, and does this through events, educational content, and by propping up future tech leaders. So Liberty Memes, I think it's a $10,000 scholarship. So check that out. They literally just started it. They're already almost $2,000 in.
Nice.
To I guess an annual scholarship of $10,000 to a young liberty-minded tech student. So how about that?
That's great, man.
That's pretty good. I like that.
That's pretty good. That's pretty great.
So we'll share the link in the show notes, but it's a GoFundMe Liberty Memes Freedom and Tech Scholarship. So I like that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's awesome.
You know, believe it or not, this is actually hard to believe for anyone that's from my neck of the woods. Blake, do you actually read the Columbia Daily Herald anymore?
Only when I want to get really upset.
Well, I mean, for me, it's that, when they have so many typos literally on the front page that it's like, I've seen many middle school student newspapers.
I don't even know how that paper's still around.
It's not still around. It's one of those, you know how a lot of the local newspapers are, is they're bought out by a parent company, and then the parent company strips them down to just the nuts and bolts. Yeah, so they've totally done that here. But there was actually an article on the front page of the Daily Herald,
really,
believe it or not,
really,
that pertains to what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
I know everybody watches like I don't understand the significance.
It's this little bitty newspaper we have here in our town. So.
I know for a fact that there's a lot of you out there that have your local paper that you probably don't read, or you just see laying at the shopping mart or whatever. That's it's probably mostly just AP articles with a handful of local yokels who got arrested for meth, or that's probably just a Southern thing. That's probably just what we do around here. But we're actually going to showcase the front page of the Daily Herald, believe it or not, when we come back from this break. Hey, did you see the playoff games last weekend?
Oh, you're into the sports ball game.
Sports Ball with Mike Meharry and Alan Mosley. SportsBallPodcast.com.
Sports ball is not a libertarian sports show. It's a sports show done by a couple of libertarians.
For when you need your bread in circuses.
Your ad could be playing right now, reaching thousands of potential customers. Sadly, it's not, but it could be. Find out how to be an advertised sponsor for The Gold Standard with Alan Mosley. Email us at tgsalanmosley@gmail.com. Check, Blake. See if you can get this on camera too. This little look at that right there in the Daily Herald. Flavored e-cigarette ban could lead to local business closing.
Yep.
Aha! Yet another little bit of the flavor for the banning of flavored e-cigs. Listen to this right here. FDA is working to develop guidelines to remove all flavors other than tobacco. Imagine that. From the market, Health and Human Service Secretary Alex Azar told reporters this week, Spring Hills, and that's Spring Hills, a town north of us here in Columbia, old school vapor owner Sam Oakland said the ban would immediately put his 2 locations in the city out of business. He said, quote, a ban would take 70% of my business out of my stores in one swoop overnight. There are easily at least 150,000 employees in the vape industry nationwide, and this would leave many, if not most of them, without jobs. Imagine that, unforeseen consequences of meddling by government.
Oh, yeah, man. You know, they just love banning everything.
So I did want to point out really quick, so what we're going to be talking about today is the proposal of banning vaping, banning e-cigarettes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And what is it? So Cuomo's already done this in New York. They've done an emergency ban on flavored e-cigs, and I know there's a few other people that are following
For
up.
all 7 people in America who have died from it, right?
We'll get to that here in a second. So pull this up really quick.
Okay.
This is from Reason by Jacob Sullum. The alarming epidemic of misguided meddling with e-cigarettes. Banning the flavors that former smokers overwhelmingly prefer is a strange way to protect public health. I like how he has this framed, by the way, because the way that they sell this to these retarded boomers who vote for this crap, they sell it is it's an emergency, right? It's for the public safety that, oh, there's just people dying in the streets because of this product, so we have to regulate it or ban it outright.
No,
so
man.
he actually takes that point in his article to argue the emotional and the health aspect of it,
right,
because that's what they'll use to ram it down people's throats.
Sure.
So he says, banning flavored e-cigarettes is all the rage among politicians these days. It's an alarming trend that poses a clear and present danger to public health. So that's an interesting. The epidemic of misguided meddling began earlier this month with Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer announced that she planned to unilaterally criminalize the sale of e-cigarettes in flavors other than tobacco. The contagion quickly spread to the White House, where President Donald Trump has said his administration plans to impose a similar ban at the federal level. New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo, he declared it an emergency ban. California, where Governor Gavin Newsom said he would copy Cuomo if it were legally feasible. Now just want to say really quick, it's interesting that he added that if it were legally feasible, because, of course, in California, pot's legal. So there's pot shops all over the place, which means there's tons of people that are also vaping THC and that sort of thing. And so as we already talked about with the newspaper article from here in town, that if they were to ban this product, and there's literally millions of people using this product, then, I mean, there's going to be lots of businesses have to close their doors the next day. I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot called for legislation aiming at closing, quote, the gateway to adolescent nicotine addiction. So I
thought you had to be 18 to buy the products to begin with.
Well,
I mean,
let's look at some of the data that they have here. In a 2018 survey, 69,000 adult vapers who were asked which flavors they used regularly. Just 8% said tobacco. Imagine that. If they're given a choice of lots of flavors, tobacco's not the top one on their list. Can you imagine?
I can imagine.
83% said a fruit flavor. 71% mentioned flavors in the dessert, pastry, bakery category. 13% said menthol. Ugh. Yeah, right? 10% picked mint/wintergreen. So there's actually more people that picked menthol or mint than even tobacco.
Yeah.
81% of the respondents described themselves as former smokers. 13% were still smoking, and 5% had never smoked.
Ugh.
Among the former smokers, 75% had started vaping when they quit smoking. So this is the thing. So this survey of former smokers finds that flavor variety plays an important role in the process of switching to vaping as opposed to smoking cigarette, cigar. Right. The FDA has even acknowledged that the role that flavors play may play in helping some smokers switch to potentially less harmful forms of nicotine delivery. I like how they can only acquiesce to saying may play a role, even though it's overwhelming in the data. So, former FDA chief Scott Gottlieb, notwithstanding his concerns about underage vaping, recognizes the enormous harm-reducing potential of e-cigarettes, describing them as a, quote, tremendous public health opportunity. However, the FDA is still planning to ban nearly all the vaping products used by former smokers, which is likely to drive them back to a much more dangerous habit while deterring current smokers from making a switch that could save their lives. Now, I want to be clear really quick on something, though. Now, people are still responsible for their own actions.
Absolutely.
Now, we're not saying that because you don't get to have a green apple flavored e-cig, that means you no longer bear the burden of your health decisions. We're not saying that. But what we are saying is that, well, of course, number one, the state has no right to ban, well, anything. They certainly don't have the right to ban your e-cig flavors. But furthermore, I can't stress this enough. The way they're going to sell this to people is they're going to sell it on the backs of think of the children, right? Oh, well, somebody please think of the children. So boomers are going to vote for politicians and representatives who are going to get stuff like this banned. And in their mind, they're thinking, this is going to stop them kids from doing that dangerous stuff. That's what they're thinking. But as the data clearly shows, not only is it a way healthier alternative to just straight smoking tobacco products, but it's there's lots of people that are enjoying the benefits of having this in the market right now, that if you strip that from them, so a huge chunk of adults, not children at all, there's a huge number of adults that are using these products that if they become unavailable, here's my theory. That just means they're going to be driven to the black market, right?
Yeah. Sure.
That just means, just like if you're in a state that doesn't have pot legalized, or any other drug for that matter, people who currently today can buy something on a store shelf that is more likely to be a clean and safe product are going to be forced into the black market, where they're going to then be buying things from whoever, whatever dealer they can get it from, with much less certainty about the safety of the product. So not only is this against public safety, I would be willing to bet you're going to see way more deaths associated with bad e-cigs or bad vapes, not less.
Right.
People are going to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And there's no judgment, by the way. I'm not saying that in a judgmental way. I'm not saying, oh, people are stupid, they're going to do what they're going to do. No, people want to do what they want to do. And if they're free and to do whatever they want to do, it's their bodies. It's my body, my choice, right? That's what I keep on hearing.
Yeah.
I don't know how that can possibly pertain to killing a baby, but not pertain to using a flavored e-cigarette. There's no way you can. There's just no way you can argue that. There's just no way you can argue that. So I wanted to read one last little bit here. This is from Cuomo in New York. The e-cigarettes and the vaping devices are often used to vape other substances, such as THC. Ooh. Oh, no. And many of these other products have no controls on them whatsoever. Kind of like the government. Kind of like Andrew Cuomo. He has no controls on it whatsoever. So he should be banned. The so-called counterfeit products. They're not cleared by the FDA. Since when has that mattered? Yeah. There's been no analysis of them at all. So this I love this quote. They're not cleared by the FDA. There's been no analysis of them at all. So vaping is dangerous. In the mind of Governor Cuomo, the only way that you or I or anyone could make any type of decision for ourselves is if the government has made it for us.
Right.
They're not cleared by the FDA. There's no analysis of them at all. So vaping is dangerous. That's it. That's the end all be all.
What about the entire industry of supplements? I mean, I guess that stuff's all right.
Well, I mean, no, they'll be happy to ban that too if they could figure out a way. So
I mean,
but here's the thing though: if there was an invested interest that people had enough money to lobby the state, they'd ban that stuff too.
Yeah.
To that point, I wanted to bring up an interesting little infographic.
Okay.
People, check this out. This is U.S. deaths from 2009 to 2019.
Wow.
Smoking cigarettes, greater than 4 million.
Man.
Again, you're responsible for your choices, but if you want to smoke cigarettes till you die, that's
all on
none
you.
of my business.
On you.
Drinking alcohol, upwards of 800,000.
Wow.
Vaping / e-cigarettes, 6.
6.
But hold on. Tax revenue, 2009 to 2019. Tobacco, $144 billion.
Well,
Now
gotta pay for
remember,
those wars
kids.
somehow.
Remember, kids, taxation is theft.
That's right.
All of these numbers should be 0 because taxation is theft. However, we're just reading the data.
Mm-hmm.
Tobacco, $144 billion over the last decade. Alcohol, $100 billion. E-cigarettes, $10 billion. But yet, one of these is in danger of being banned. You could never guess which one if I hadn't already told you. You could just never guess which one.
Oh, boy.
It's always about the money. It's
Yeah.
always about the control. But if you are a free person, which frankly you're not, and this is another point too I want to make. Because we see this when the war on drugs, right? If they ban this, then it's going to be classified. It's going to be on a list just like cocaine or heroin or anything else. But here's the thing. If only 6 or 7 people have died as a result of some sort of a vaping e-cigarette fiasco, if you will, and those become illegal tomorrow, and so then some cops blow somebody's brains out because he's using an e-cigarette that they don't like, that counts on that statistic.
Yeah.
That number goes up
Yeah.
by no fault of the e-cigarette, only by the fault of the jackboots and the people that gave them the authority. They don't have it, but they think they do. So when that number absolutely rises because it is now on the black market, who is to blame?
Right.
The officials, of course, who passed the bans, but the folks who voted those people in, the folks who supported them, the people. I tell you what, I actually before we did this segment today, I had been watching the news. You know, on major nightly news, every single day so far this week, there has been a segment on the dangers of vaping.
Yeah,
and cigarettes.
it's crazy. It's almost
That
been like
is
a
pure propaganda. Not only is it pure propaganda, but I really stress to people, it's actually kind of useful sometimes to watch it. Because it's a reminder that the mainstream media is just a branch of the state.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers don't lie. No, like, sure, of course, there have been movements against smoking. And if you as a free person want to convince another free person, hey, man, you shouldn't smoke, that's dangerous, that more's the better. But it still is no place of the state to tell people what they can and can't do with their bodies, or what businesses can and can't sell, or what free people can and cannot buy. So I would urge people, look, I don't want you to be smoking. I know Blake smokes like 4 packs a day. You can tell in his voice.
I don't smoke at all, dude. What are you talking about? I don't smoke anything.
I'm just kidding.
Listen
Can
to
you
this
not
guy.
play
It's
along
not
with
my
me?
fault.
Shut up! Can you not play along with me just one time on this show?
No, not when it comes to smoking.
Okay. Well, okay, we'll move on to the next one. I know Blake drinks like 2 6-packs every day
Of
before he
Coke,
comes
maybe,
to,
but not even that.
Okay. Well, I think the Coca-Cola is probably worse for you.
I know.
There's no probably to it, actually. But again, it's the money, it's the control, and a ban will only cause more harm than good. And I love the way that this recent article really attacks the point of the public health and safety. Like,
Yeah.
if that's your arguing point, if you're going to frame the debate around public health and safety, you're actually making the public less healthy and less safe with the ban. Imagine
course.
that. Something from the federal government has unintended consequences that actually do the opposite of how they sold it. Imagine that.
It's pretty much everything.
I really have nothing more to say on that. I mean, it speaks for us. And to be clear, look, like neither of us, me and Blake, are not big smokers or drinkers.
No.
But that's not the point. I want you to be able to make those decisions for yourself, and live with the consequences, good or ill. That's what being free is. That's what liberty is. It's the liberty. It's the way that Ron Paul always put it. That if you don't have the liberty to say things that people would find objectionable, if you don't have the liberty to make mistakes, then you don't have liberty at all.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Ron Paul's plastic genius.
Well, imagine that. Imagine why we have this little sticker on the front of my desk. I know
you can't see it, but it's always sitting there. Yeah.
It's always there. I've always got it
there
on my desk. So there you go.
Just to remind you.
Commercial break?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, let's do one of those.
Have you ever been talking politics with a friend and told, if you don't like it here, you should just move to Somalia?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, from the sandy beaches of Mogadishu, Sherry and I bring you Postcards from Somalia, one of the newer products of Little L Productions, where we take on all of the fallacies of the people who say, if you don't like it, you can just get out. Your ad could be playing right now, reaching thousands of potential customers. Sadly, it's not, but it could be. Find out how to be an advertised sponsor for The Gold Standard with Alan Mosley. Email us at tgsalanmosley@gmail.com. There's a poll, Blake, that you need to take. This is from our friends at the other 3%.
Okay.
You know, they've started a new page because their first page is getting a bit of the Zuck syndrome. So they've got Meme Wars episode 5, the other 3% strikes back. Check out this poll. Who bombed the Saudi oil fields?
Ooh.
Is it A, Iran, or B, the CIA? I love it too. It's currently 83% CIA. People don't buy this crap anymore.
No. It's starting to get comical.
If I look, I'm an anarchist. I don't vote. I never will. All you people, by the way, on Facebook that try to get me or the show page to like your random BS politician or yourself running for your city council or the crap, I decline them all. Just quit sending them. I decline them all. Yeah. I don't like politicians. I don't support political candidates. I don't vote. I'm never going to bump them in any way.
You'll just send them a link to euthanasia.com.
I do that.
Yeah,
I do that as a matter of fact.
It's happy.
Yeah, I've been known to do that. Well, you know why it is, though? It's because nowadays, back in the good old days, you could call people retarded fags and tell them to go kill themselves.
Wow.
And I'm not saying I've done that today, but I'm known to do that from time to time. But now they'll say that you're promoting self-harm if you tell people to go kill themselves. So what I say is I link them to euthanasia.com and I tell them this is just for you to get the information you need to make the right choice. I think that that's a very, it's
humane way of dealing with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
with dealing with people. You heard it. That was Blake, guys. Blake said he wants to deal with you.
No, I don't.
That's just what he said. So, yeah, almost 600 votes, 83% say the CIA.
So amazing.
I actually had a cool, so that's the other 3%, guys. Go check out the other 3% on Facebook.
Yeah.
I wanted to pull up this article. It's actually right here on anymore.com, which we love. And this is actually by Pat Buchanan, for those that remember Pat. Mm-hmm. Locked and loaded for war with Iran, ? Quote, Iran has launched an unprecedented attack on the world's energy supply, declared Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. I really want Pompeo to go the way of Bolton. They need to get him out of there. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Putting America's credibility on the line, Pompeo accused Iran of carrying out the devastating attack on Saudi oil facilities that halted half of the kingdom's oil production, 5.7 million barrels a day. On Sunday, President Trump did not identify Iran as the attacking nation, but did appear in a tweet to back up the Secretary of State. Quote, there is reason to believe that we know the culprit, are locked and loaded depending on verification, but are waiting to hear from the kingdom, Saudi Arabia, as to who they believe was the cause of this attack and under what terms we would proceed. I love how in that tweet, not only is he kind of doing that sort of insinuating of, we think it's Iran, but we're gonna wait to see what Saudi Arabia says, and if they give us the go, we'll go in and bomb Iran.
Hey, they could accuse anybody, right?
There was an awesome quote. The quote was actually over a year old at this point, but it's still relevant. Tulsi Gabbard had made a tweet about Donald Trump, where she had said that the U.S. should quit being Saudi Arabia's female dog. I almost said the word, and just as I was about to say the word, I thought in my mind Suzanne Sherman and Cerberus Radio Network saying, "Alan, we can't air that. You said a bad word." I did. Suzanne, I did good. I stopped. So anyway, Yemen's Houthi rebels who have been fighting Saudi Arabia for 4 years, aka have been having their children starved to death by Saudi Arabia, and have used drones to strike Saudi airport and oil facilities, claim that they fired 10 drones from 500 kilometers away to carry out the strikes in retaliation for Saudi air and missile attacks. Pompeo dismissed their claim. Quote, there is no evidence the attacks came from Yemen. I love how Iran can deny all responsibility, can have not done anything like this, can not be engaging in any offensive military activity, can not stand to really gain anything, right? Like this wouldn't make logical sense for them to do, right? Why would they do that and then bring the ire of the West or Saudi Arabia or Israel or whoever down upon them? It wouldn't make sense for them to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And I stress to people, like, this is the narrative that your TV is going to try to sell you. This is the narrative that the Trump administration or Mike Pompeo will try to sell you. But in the real world's not a cartoon, right? No. Like in Iran, the president of Iran, the shahs and whatever, the clerics, you know, they're not like, they don't have the little mustaches that they're twirling going, aha, we're going to bomb the oil fields in Saudi Arabia. Like that's cartoon, guys. Yeah. That's like Boris.
Yeah, remember
from Rocky and
Boris and Natasha.
Like, so Boris and Natasha, I love how that's Russian too, by the way. Like, it's so dated that's a Russian thing. But that's not real life. That's a cartoon. In the real world, people pursue their own interests, just like we talk about, just like the free market. It doesn't really fit Iran's interest to be creating international backlash that's going to lead to sanctions, that's going to lead to strikes or bombings or whatever. Right. So that's BS. Absolutely. Just on its face, that's BS. So I want to give a couple of other little quotes here. If the perpetrators were the Houthis, how would Trump respond? For the Houthis, who are native to Yemen and whose country has been attacked by the Saudis for 4 years, would, under the rules of war, seem to be entitled to launch attacks on the country attacking them. Indeed, Congress has repeatedly sought to have Trump terminate U.S. support of the Saudi war in Yemen. Now, that's a very important point. Look, Saudi Arabia has been blockading Yemen, has been leading to mass starvation and disease and a horrible humanitarian crisis in Yemen over the last 4 years. So if I'm a Yemeni and I have the capability of firing a drone that's going to supposedly halt half of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's oil production, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah. They're starving my kids. Yeah. Yes, they should be. That is you should defend oneself. You should do whatever you can to harm your aggressor. I mean, I hope the situation in Yemen is going to improve. I know I had read recently some reports that Saudi Arabia was starting to look, this has gone on too long. This is costing too much money. Let's sue for peace. Imagine that after 4 years, they want to sue for peace with Yemen because it's gone on too long. Here we are in Afghanistan for going on 20 years, and we're still fighting the fight. Imagine that. So Pat Buchanan, he ends it here with, divided again, the war party is giddy with excitement over the prospect of war with Iran, while the nation does not want another war. How we avoid it, however, is becoming difficult to see. John Bolton may be gone from the West Wing, but his soul marches on. Wow. That's a topic that is deserving of a whole episode. Yeah. We're going to have somebody on to help us break that down. I just wanted to mention that today because it was in the news. Yeah. And it's just such a weird world where you can have an Iran that, like, look, there are powers that be in Washington that have wanted war with Iran for decades.
I mean, they've never actually done anything aggressive to anyone, right?
It was their plan from day one to make Iran a part of the list with Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, and Iran would kind of like be the cherry on top for that whole intervention fiasco. I don't have hope. Like I was talking about before, I'm an anarchist. I don't vote. I have no hope for the state. But I do have a little bit of hope that individual citizens out there, maybe the more apolitical types, but even the ones that are the more hardcore partisans, I have a little bit of hope that people are kind of coming around to the concept of, well, look, maybe you're still voting out there. Maybe you're not ready to just rip it all out root and stem. Maybe you're not ready for a stateless society. But surely at least you can see the war hawks lying through their teeth. They're looking for another WMD. They're looking for another Gulf of Tonkin. They want war with Iran so bad they can't stand it.
Yeah.
We have no business in it. Not only do we have no business in it, there's no business in anyone going to war with Iran. I genuinely believe that Iran had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But I know our friend I know our friend Mike Meharry had messaged me about this topic, and he had said that, well, all the articles say that U.S. intelligence confirms X. Mm-hmm. U.S. intelligence means less than zero to me. It really does.
It could be a propaganda machine.
Well, U.S. intelligence gave us WMDs. U.S. intelligence gives us all the lies and the cheating and the theft and the murder and everything else that we've always had. So why would I believe? So U.S. intelligence is not a person that we can subpoena to court who's going to have to put the evidence on the table. They don't answer to us. They don't answer to you or me. They don't answer to anybody. So I consider the opinions or the confirmations of U.S. intelligence to be less than nothing. So we're not going to buy that. I genuinely have at least a little bit of hope that the average American who sees Iraq, sees Afghanistan, sees that it's just a quagmire that never ends, that we should have that at least they have the thought of, well, let's not trade one for another, right? Like let's say by some miracle in the next 2 to 3 years, we're actually done and out of, let's say, Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. Don't trade Afghanistan for Iran. Right? Like, don't just end one conflict to ramp up another to keep the military-industrial complex flush with cash. Don't do that.
No.
Let's just as a thought experiment try to go like a whole 365 days with zero foreign military conflicts and see how the American people like the taste of peace rather than the taste of perpetual war.
Good call. I agree.
I mean, they're not going to do that, but I'm glad you agree. I'm glad you agree.
I love the idea. I think that'd be great. I don't think our country's ever going to be capable of trying that, but it's a nice sentiment.
I'm capable of trying it.
Yeah,
and that's all any of us can do. Okay. But guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of The Gold Standard with Alan Mosley. You can find us on social media, which is facebook.com/TGS Alan Mosley. Twitter is @Alan and Mosley, but you don't have to do any of that. You can just go to our website, which is The Gold Standard Podcast. Look, it's right there.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, right there.
Other way there.
The Gold Standard Pod. Well, now
one of those little balls that bounces on.
I know we should do a sing along.
Yeah.
Not today.
Not today.
We should do definitely not today, but we should do a sing along. Consider supporting the show, guys, by becoming a member of our Patreon, which is patreon.com/TGS Alan Mosley. Guys, we have an awesome studio. I have the best producer in libertarian podcast. You look so happy, by the way. You look so happy to be here. That's the type of positivity we like around here.
That's right.
All of this costs us plenty of money, but also a lot of time to produce shows like this and all the other programs, the Little Up Production. So please consider supporting the show. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.